do is I kneel in front of something like a couch. Or,
you're in like a Seiza position, right? And you're
Yeah, like you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kneel in front of like a couch, and then I put my hands on the couch, and it's literally like a leg extension into the ground. I'm pressing into the couch, and I'm holding that position. And I find how, like John was saying earlier, there's pain positions. So my pain position might be at 90 degrees. I find that angle where I'm at about a 3 or less in pain, and I'm just pressing into the ground. Hold that for 45 seconds. The pain dissipates a little bit. You know you did it right if the pain went away, and it's kind of, we describe it as like ibuprofen for the knees.
Wish we had a visual. Is there anything on like your Instagram, or should we just look up the reverse Nordic?
I wonder if you could show us in front of the table.
Yeah, I have on my YouTube channel on one of my lifting videos. I do it as my warm up. I have it on there.
Remember how long ago that video was? When that was? Was it a month ago?
That was like 2 weeks ago. I want to say. Okay,
that'll help a little bit.
yeah. So that's kind of the guidelines for that. Some more tendon health guidelines. Isometrics, we do them for 45 seconds. The reason we do that is because after 30 seconds, there's tendon creep, I believe.
Yeah, so they're viscoelastic, and so tendons can be stiff. Really, when they're put under load, they can be really, really stiff. And then when they're over a long period of time, you can actually get the tendon to soften, and like you said, tendon creep.
Oh, so sometimes it might hurt a little bit at first, right?
Yeah.
And then it will dissipate.
It'll dissipate. That's because you have nociceptive nerve fibers or pain signaling, nerves in there, and they're basically desensitizing. And this is Ebony Rio and Jill Cook, like I was saying, this is their big line of research. And basically what they found is by doing that isometric for 45 seconds, you're able to untrain your pain sensors in that position. So by doing that and holding, so this is the reverse Nordic.
Good job, Andrew.
Isometric. So basically he would hold this like position
right there.
Yep.
Right there, you just hold there for 45 seconds?
Yeah.
So some people that are listening, or some people that are watching rather, if this seems like it's going to be really difficult, all you have to do is hold a band and attach it to something sturdy, and you can have some sort of support.
You could assist it. You could put a towel around whatever you want.
Whatever
and
way you
got
to get support.
Yep.
And you can also change the angle of the knee. So like leg extension, I'm at almost parallel with my leg. I'm holding that. I might do a manual ISO where it's like all the way in knee flexion. I'm pushing out.
So again, you find the pain position. You
hold it.
I've coined it recently as pain position isometrics, because if you don't actually dip into a little bit of that painful range of motion, you really won't detrain that nerve. I found that just anecdotally after working with thousands of athletes. I would have these really, really difficult cases where guys would come in. There was an athlete named Cade Karchner. Cade Karchner could do it between the legs. He's 6 foot, he's really freaky athlete. And he had worked with us, but was like, oh, I can do this on my own. I got this, and then realized maybe I don't have this, and started working with us again. And so I'm talking to him, and I was telling him, you need to be in a very moderately tendon aggravating position, little bit of pain. Just tap into it a little bit, hold that for 45 seconds. Over time, that 45 seconds, because of tendon creep, you're able to load the core of the tendon. This is Keith Barr's research, what he studied. I might be misquoting it, but it's almost analogous to if you were to slap water, it would be really, really like, a sharp feeling on your hand. Mm-hmm. If you put your hand into it slowly, you know what I mean? You're not gonna have that stiffness. And so over time, basically the tendon, you're able to load the core of it. So that's one of the benefits to doing the isometric. The other one is that tendons need to hit a certain threshold, but if you were to do really, really heavy back squats, you might exceed what the threshold or capacity of your tendon is, and it'll make it worse. It's like, hey, I can handle this much, but if I decide to exceed that, this is the capacity of my tendon. If I decide to exceed that, you're going to have pain probably in a tendon. It's very, very likely you're going to have pain. And I've seen this, I've tracked pain scores for the last 5 years on thousands of athletes, and I've observed it anecdotally. We see it in research. I've seen it with him, with myself. If your pain scores are jumping up the following, tendons have a latent pain response.
Paraproject family, how's it going? Now, Piedmontese Beef is a company we've been eating literally for years now because they have some of the best beef on the market, tons of cuts, tons of different types of beef. Check them out. Andrew, where can they get it?
At Piedmontese.com. That's PIEDMONTESE.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
So you might not have pain during the activity, but the following day and even up to 48 hours after, your pain might skyrocket. Like you might pull up after a dunk session and be like, let's say you do the dunk session on Monday, right? So it's whatever, you're good to go. Next morning, you feel fine. Now on Wednesday, all of a sudden, your knees feel like shit. And you're like, what did I do to make my knees hurt? I did nothing yesterday. Well, it was actually 2 days prior that really messed you up. And so that's another thing that makes tendons really tricky and why it's really important to track pain, not only 24 hours after, not only during the activity, but 48 hours, even as far as 48 hours later, because you might not know that you fucked up and you went too far until that point. And so then you have to retroactively say, okay, what you did was too much. We need to take a step back and go to along that progression that he was kind of delving into, take a step back in that progression and then build you back up, or stay at that step for a little bit before we take the next step forward. So with tendons, I found that to be super effective. I don't necessarily think that's the case for every knee injury. When I've had meniscus injuries, I've had a little bit of a different approach, but with tendons, regardless of whether it was an Achilles or what are common tendon injuries for jumpers? For him, it's quad tendinopathy. He has one in his hip that bothers him, and then patella tendinopathy and Achilles tendinopathy. Those are the common ones. So basically just all lower leg. For you guys, what are the most common tendon injuries that you guys actually see?
We see a lot of elbow.
Really? Just
see a
like
lot
bench
of
press?
We see a lot of elbow and shoulder.
Elbow and shoulder for bench press, absolutely. You see that a lot. And then honestly, for squats and stuff, you'll see some of that too. Hey, if you want to make Squirtle squirt, I know you're enjoying this content, so like, comment, subscribe, and head to the Power Project Discord below. Peace.